with Bitcoin, there's been a reframing in people's minds over the course of 2023 and 2024, which we're starting to see really gain steam now. And that's the idea of having a portion of your portfolio allocated towards Bitcoin for institutional investors.
One of my big things is that USDT will make the top 100 list of global assets by market cap. So I really think that's going to happen this year.
It's going to be hard to convince someone to get into crypto with Bitcoin already at 100K. It's like they're going to feel like they missed out.
On this episode of Early Bird, what will be the top investing themes for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in 2025? What should crypto investors expect this year? Joining us today on the podcast are Key Jeffries, co-founder at Session, Courage Kimba, crypto education specialist and advisor at KB4UC, and Adam Zek, co-founder of My Standard. If you're an investor looking to stay on top of the latest market trends, then you're listening to the right podcast. This is Early Bird, and I'm your host, Stephen Lerner. Before we get to today's discussion, let me tell you how you can save time and beat the market through Early Bird, a free daily email newsletter featuring commentary about the latest trends in stocks, cryptocurrency, and equity crowdfunding. Early Bird is designed to help individual and non-professional investors stay on top of all of the critical investing trends. The newsletter is 100% free and is sent to your email box each weekday morning. Subscribe to Early Bird for free at www.earlybird.email. Once again, that's earlybird.email. And now, today's discussion. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Early Bird podcast. Today is very special. We are going to be talking about cryptocurrency investing in 2025 and what you as an average investor should know about cryptocurrency for this new year. 2024 was a fantastic year for most cryptocurrencies as prices for most of digital assets soared, and so it was a fantastic year. But what's at stake in 2025? Are we going to see more of the same? Will this be another great year for cryptocurrencies, or could it be a market correction? Could there be a setback for cryptocurrency in 2025? Well, we're going to take a look and see. We have a really good panel of experts here today. Key Jeffries, Courage Kimba, and Adam Zek all joining today. Thank you to all three of you for coming on to the podcast today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
So before we get started with deeper questions, I wanted to ask a one-word question to everybody. If you could define one word to describe, as you see it, cryptocurrency investing in 2025, what would that one word be? Key, I'll start with you. What's the one word that comes to your mind when you think of cryptocurrency investing in 2025?
Mine would be Trump.
Trump. Okay, we'll talk about that as well. Courage, what's your one word that you that comes to your mind when you think of 2025 and crypto investing?
Explosive.
Explosive. Interesting word. And last but not least, Adam, the one word that comes to your mind when you think of crypto investing this year?
Utility.
Utility. Okay. Three very different words we have here, and they all could fit in with one another, as this could be a year of many different themes that happen. Adam, I'll start with you real quick. What are those big themes that you're looking for in crypto investing in 2025? I know you just mentioned that word, but what else are you looking for in terms of big themes for the year?
Yeah, well, kind of circling that word that I said, to be honest. Obviously, everything depends on where you are in your investing life cycle. If you have very few dollars and are trying to grow those dollars exponentially, there's a little more gambling. There's a little bit more, low caps and memes and things like that. If you're in the middle of the road, there's pretty solid risk reward ratio tokens and programs out there. And likewise, if you're already rich, usually you're just investing in the top 20, if not anything else, as your, risk reward ratio kind of goes down. So like anybody I talk to about this stuff, it's always just about like what's your appetite, or have maybe plays across the spectrum of those three categories. I've been wrong about this. So it may not be the year, but it will happen at some point. And so I think that there is going to be a maturing moment in the market where larger institutional players come in that are looking for very strong utilities within the ecosystems, like tokens that do more than just trading. Like these things can actually do things that are outside of the spectrum of what cash can do, because cash can be changed hands.
Yes.
Like tokens can actually be a functional, decentralized incentive structure that the world hasn't seen before, with global participation without borders.
Yeah.
That's a very unique proposition. And once there's utility tokens that actually take advantage of that properly, I think that's where the mature money is going to flow. And that's where the bets you can place even today on small caps or mid caps that are trying that can really pay dividends later on. So I tell people, invest across the spectrum, but look for very strong utility with an actual flywheel. And that's where you're going to make large wins. Maybe not right away, but in the coming years.
No, you're absolutely right. There is a utility with cryptocurrencies. Blockchain technology can do other things beyond the financial realm. So that's definitely an interesting look at what it could happen this year. Courage, I believe you said explosive as your word, correct?
That is correct.
So talk a little bit about that. What are the big themes you're seeing in cryptocurrency, or things you might see in cryptocurrency in 2025?
Well, to piggyback off of a little bit what Adam mentioned, smart money is coming into crypto. They've been coming for a while, but they're really coming in hard, heavy. So with that influx of cash from smart money, new investors probably get onboarded with some meme coins. We had this like meme coin super cycle, which seemed like it lasted for like ever. And just meme coins just kept pumping like, 2023 to 2024. So with that influx of cash, I really see big opportunity with stable coins, and particularly with the MiCA regulation. So stable coins that are not necessarily in USD, as well as, one of my big things is that USDT will make the top 100 list of global assets by market cap. So I really think that's going to happen this year. Because of the influx of cash into the market, there needs to be more liquidity in order to deal with that influx of cash. So I really think that could be a game-changing moment. USDT is maybe 20, 30 billion away from being on that list. The last time I check it all the time. So it could be a real game changer to have USDT on that list.
Yeah, it absolutely could. So, I mean, the explosive potential indeed. Key, you said Trump is your word, so I'll let you take it from there about, big themes you might expect to see this year in crypto in 2025.
Yeah, well, obviously, Trump is going to be inaugurated on January the 20th, and this will be the first time since Bitcoin's invention that there's been a explicitly pro Bitcoin and crypto president of the United States. And also, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, I think, have seen the power of crypto voters in the 2024 election to be able to sway the tides of an election. We saw very effective lobbying efforts from different crypto involved parties. And I think that's really changing the sway of both the Democrats and the Republicans in terms of policy making on crypto. So this may be the first 4-year term where we actually have an explicitly pro-crypto policy. And I think a lot of people are banking on that to wind down some of the regulation that the SEC has not been making and just kind of enforcing by giving people's Wells notices and other kind of innovation blocking policies that they've had, which have moved innovation outside of the US and made things harder from a crypto standpoint, because there still is a very large center of crypto operations in the US. So to see that kind of unshackled and put to work into the market, I think a lot of people are very excited about this. And this is probably what I was hearing over the course of 2024 as well, is that this was the major motivating factor in any movements upwards that we're having in price right now. So I think this is the dominant narrative for the next couple of years, and we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, Trump is extremely unpredictable in what he's going to say as time goes on. He's been pro-crypto, anti-crypto, in between, not really sure what he's going to do, but at least the initial signs look promising. So we'll have to see how that one plays out.
Absolutely. So these are the big themes we're talking about here for crypto in 2025. A lot of experts and analysts out there expect a pretty good year for cryptocurrency. I'll open this question up to anybody out here, any one of our experts here. What are some reasons why this might be a good year for crypto in 2025? Well, give me your bull case. Why might it be a good year for crypto investing? Anybody?
I'll take that. So I just think that there's more knowledge of cryptocurrency. There's more education around it, and so people are more aware of it, and they've seen the kind of bull market. And I think when Bitcoin hit 100K, it was kind of like, okay, people were like, everyone's eyes were wide open. It's like, okay, this is not just funny money anymore. This is serious. So I think that's one of the reasons why that we'll see a big year. But also, of course, as Key mentioned, Trump being the first, crypto president, he really did his thing in terms of like putting it out there that he wants to be the crypto president, going to the Bitcoin conference and speaking on with regards to that, and also the Bitcoin, like doing a Bitcoin reserve is a huge undertaking, but it's a very sort of, I guess trying to be like a thought leader and a leader in that kind of space and trying to position the United States as such. So I think that is another part of it, part of why it will be such a big deal in 2025.
No, you're right. Go on.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off that a little bit. I think, especially with Bitcoin, there's been a reframing in people's minds over the course of 2023 and 2024, which we're starting to see really gain steam now. And that's the idea of having a portion of your portfolio allocated towards Bitcoin for institutional investors. So you may have had institutional investors that would allocate 5% of their portfolio to gold, for example, as a stable reserve kind of asset. We're now starting to see recommendations coming from like BlackRock and some of the larger asset managers in the US to allocate some portion of your portfolio to Bitcoin as a stable reserve asset in a similar way to gold. And I think there had been, over the course of kind of 2020 to 2022 or something like that, there had been this narrative that Bitcoin was going to be a payments network, and that has always been the historic narrative about Bitcoin, is that we're going to use the Lightning Network and we're going to actually enable this to be a payments network that's going to be used by a lot of people. And I think that narrative is kind of officially dead now. And the narrative has really pivoted towards Bitcoin being a store of value and a reserve asset. And I think we're starting to see really that narrative gaining steam. I think if that really takes hold in investors' minds, we're going to see a big allocation of assets to Bitcoin. The question is whether you're invested in alts, whether that's going to kind of trickle down to alts as well. But certainly for Bitcoin, I think I see 2025 as the year of Bitcoin being a reserve asset, and a lot of portfolio managers allocating some percentage of their funds into Bitcoin.
No, you're absolutely right. Both of you, education and awareness, it's a big reason to be bullish on Bitcoin and crypto in 2025. And then the whole Bitcoin versus altcoin debate for 2025, what will perform better? I'll add one. Certainly the arrival of exchange traded funds or ETFs for Bitcoin, Ether, make it easier for more traditional investors to get exposure to cryptocurrency. On that note, certainly listeners, speak to your financial advisors before trying something like crypto. It certainly has its pros and cons. Adam, anything you wanted to add on this in terms of reasons people might be bullish on crypto in 2025?
I mean, you guys hit on some good ones. The only thing that I can think of that maybe wasn't mentioned is there is an improvement on ramps and off ramps, so it's easier and more accessible for people to get cash into the marketplace and out. I think centralized exchanges maybe have a little bit too much of an importance in the market. I think trading on chain is going to become bigger and bigger, and if that's the case, then more sophisticated and nuanced off ramps and off ramp solutions need to be developed, which we're seeing. And my company's been evaluating a few lately that are really strong. So, I think that if it's easier to get money in and also easier to get money out, it's going to increase the amount of liquidity ultimately in the marketplace, and that's another kind of bullish thing that's slowly maturing and getting better. But I see 2025 as that continues on. Because there's more. I think there used to be just like a couple options, and now there's dozens, and there's going to be hundreds soon. So, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. More money in the market's always good for cryptocurrency, and it's a reason to be excited about where crypto investments could go in 2025. Let's take the counterpoint. Let's talk about some reasons why it may not be a good year for crypto investing in 2025. There could be a market correction, not just the broader market, but specifically in cryptocurrencies. I'll open this up to the floor. What are some reasons that investors may want to pause a bit when it comes to crypto investing in 2025?
I think that there's got to be a reason for people to use this stuff other than trading tokens. There's about 500 million people globally who trade crypto. It's not that many people. Maybe it's gone up a little bit since that stat, but it's around that. And so if it's just about trading, I feel like we're going to hit a hard cap, some exhaustion, and there could be some big corrections. That's why, once again, I go back to the idea of utility. If there are utilities being created that are going to adopt many more people into the marketplace, and then once they're there, it's like, hey, you got into this marketplace because of this nuanced utility that is actually better than a Web 2 experience, whatever it might be. It could be SocialFi, it could be data, it could be, I don't know, it could be any of them. But now that you're here, let's do all this other stuff. Like, you're already in the marketplace, you're set up, and now you can trade, or now you can use DeFi or whatever it might be. And then once people kind of see how easy that all is, it's not so scary, then they might increase their amount of money they put into this place. But I think just like without a use case, without that killer app, that killer use case, I feel like people are it's going to be hard to convince someone to like get into crypto with Bitcoin already at 100K. It's like they're going to feel like they missed out. But if you get somebody into this marketplace because of something that's just a better experience than what they can get on Facebook or whatever, like there's so many utilities kind of being developed, then all of a sudden you're getting people into the marketplace for other reasons other than just trading and making money real quick. But then you take advantage of the Web3 infrastructure, and then you can start to like make people like get into the space in a new way. And so we haven't seen that yet, right? They're all being developed. None of them have taken hold yet. None of them have mass adoption yet. But that's like, I would say if we don't find that killer app, if it doesn't take hold, there could be some exhaustion of the current capital and rotation of capital in the market, and then you'll have some sharper corrections.
Great points, Adam, about some of the issues that we might see this year with crypto in 2025. Courage, Adam, do you have anything on that? Any other concerns you might have about crypto investing this year?
Geopolitical turmoil. I mean, in Europe, I'm based in Europe, kind of the brink. Some people say we're the brink of World War III. People are always constantly saying that we're on the brink of World War III. But I would just add that just as a person based in Europe.
No, you're right. A lot of geopolitical risk as well. Key, do you have anything on that to add?
Yeah, I don't have so much of a bear case for Bitcoin. I think, in the more worst case scenarios next year, Bitcoin will be flat or either go down slightly, in my view. Just because the institutional inflows, I think, for Bitcoin next year are going to be so high. It's got such a base that's been developed by people who just won't sell, and it's got almost like a religious aspect to it at this point, a cult-like aspect to it. So I think from that side, I don't think we're going to see Bitcoin really, really massively dive next year. But my question is more around alts and how alts are going to perform next year, because a lot of people have seen the Bitcoin run and they feel like they've missed out. And typically what happens in each cycle, from 2016 onwards, is that Bitcoin runs and hits an all-time high, and then people feel like they've missed out on Bitcoin, so they rotate into Ethereum because they feel like this is still a good option for them. And then after they've rotated into Ethereum and Ethereum's had a pump, they then rotate into like alts, which is like Solana, Arbitrum, Avalanche, the top 20. And then after they're finished with that, then they start rotating into really risky stuff. So you're talking about meme coins and things called like Elon Doge 420 Pepe, they start rotating into those things, and eventually they get burnt at the end of it, and then they rotate out. So I don't know whether we're going to see this cycle play out again in 2025 though, because Bitcoin has already hit all-time highs. Does it have further to go before people rotate? Or do people have a different mindset now, and this is less retail that we're dealing with and more institutional? And perhaps there's just not really a desire from institutional to rotate into these kind of more risky assets. So I think that's going to be the big question around 2025, is whether we see the same rotation that we've seen for the last 3 cycles into ETH and then alts, or whether this is the cycle where that kind of slows down or stops.
No, good points. I mean, these are the cycles we see, and there's certainly some risk that you're bringing up there. I guess one bearish case for me to bring up, Trump. There's 2 ways I could see that playing out. Either A, since we know previously he was not a fan of crypto, that continues, like most politicians who don't necessarily change their stripes, that might continue. And then there's the other risk that he starts pushing crypto policies that might sound good, but given that he has a whole crypto business now, and given his history with a lot of failures in business, that should give every investor some pause that maybe that alone is a risk.
Or maybe he promised too much. He went pretty hard on, like, as an example, he was saying that crypto, he's going to try to make it so that cryptos that are USA cryptos, so you launch a token from a US entity, are not going to be taxed. So you could buy, sell, trade without having to worry about taxes on those. He can't necessarily do that. And so, like, there's certain promises that were made, which that would be great for us. So that'd be cool. I hope that happens. Don't get me wrong. We're a Delaware C court, like, launching a token from the US, so that's fine. But I don't know how he would do that. Like, I'm excited about the prospect, but like, if that doesn't come through, is there a market correction? Because like something, or the Bitcoin reserve even bigger. If he's like, hey, actually, there is no Bitcoin reserve. We couldn't make it happen. We wanted to, we couldn't make it happen. It was out of our control or whatever. Does the market say, well, we were pricing in a Bitcoin reserve, and then have a pretty significant pullback? I think the macro doesn't change for, things, but you could have a little overpromise, under-deliver correction regarding like his intention compared to execution. So I could see where you're coming from too on that, bear case for Trump, Stephen.
It could happen, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can I add to that as well? Because Adam mentioned not being able to deliver. So, as a former federal contractor, there are certain issues with, one, the Federal Reserve already ruled out that they weren't interested in holding Bitcoin. And also the U.S. Marshal Service, when they confiscate Bitcoin, they operate independent of the U.S. government. So they're not funded by the government, and they actually sell, assets that they acquire, like the Silk Road Bitcoins, they sell that for operations costs. So being able to stop them, he technically doesn't have the authority to stop them from doing it. He would have to go through Congress and do all sorts of stuff and get it passed through Congress to change the process in order for the for the U.S. Marshal Service to stop selling Bitcoin.
Thank you again to Key Jeffries, Courage Kimba, and Adam Zach for sharing your insights on crypto investing. And thank you to everyone for listening to today's discussion. We'll be back next week for another episode of Early Bird. Have a great day.